to use fear and panic to get what they want. And what they want is to get richer and more powerful. Obviously, they did it with COVID quite effectively. They're doing it with a lot of things. But nothing is more effective for the left globally than climate politics. This is an existential crisis. We're all going to die unless you obey and make us more powerful. Bring us the Green New Deal or we are all dead. That's what they're telling you. They're not actually trying to win you over or explain anything. They're trying to whip you into a panic. So you have to ask yourself, where will this go if we let them do it? Well, look to Europe, which is about 5 years ahead of where we are now in the United States. Look what's happening in the Netherlands right now. Now, the Netherlands, you may not have known this, we didn't, is the second largest exporter of agricultural products in the world after the United States. This week, in the name of fighting climate change, the government there ordered farmers to slash emissions from their cows by 50%. Now, keep in mind, this is happening exactly the moment when China and India, the fastest growing economies in the world, are using more fossil fuels than ever. But no one ever says a word about that because you can't criticize China or India. But your cows are emitting too much. So this new order in the Netherlands would have the effect of destroying agriculture in the Netherlands. So farmers weren't for it. And to their great credit, there's still enough testosterone among Dutch farmers to protest it. And the police? Well, they opened fire. In one case, they opened fire on a 16-year-old boy driving a tractor. Watch this.
Kijk hoe je deze gaat voorspelen. Nee joh, hey, wapens jongen, wapens! Hey, wallah, rij weg jongen, rij weg! Wapens is dat!
So that's Western Europe and one of the supposedly most civilized countries in the world. This is what climate activism actually looks like. Men in uniforms shooting at 16-year-olds. But the protest didn't stop because for the farmers, for the country, everything is at stake. Dutch farmers just sprayed manure on a city hall. You're seeing that footage on your screen right now. And just as we saw in Canada, large groups of farmers are taking over city centers there. Here's what it looks like. It's a big story. It's gotten virtually no coverage in the United States, but we can learn a lot from what's happening in the Netherlands tonight. And to learn more, we want to speak to Eva Vlaardingerbroek. She is a Dutch legal philosopher we've spoken to many times before. We're happy to see her again. Eva, thanks so much for coming on. So just summarize for us who are not familiar with your country, what exactly is this about and what do you think that it means?
Well, very simple, Tucker. What this is about is the Dutch government stealing our farmers' land. And they're doing this under the guise of a made-up nitrogen crisis. And that is basically going to put most of these farmers completely out of business. And thankfully, the Dutch farmers aren't having it. So they're going out on the streets, they're blocking distribution centers, they've blocked the high roads, they are fighting back. And they're right to do so. This is their life's work. They're really at their wits' end. They're devastated by what the government is doing. And, well, it's very clear that the government is not doing this because of a nitrogen crisis. They're doing this because they want these farmers' land and they want it to house new immigrants. They also want it because the farmers are obviously standing in their way of the great reset plans that they have for us. So, yeah, farmers are hardworking, God-fearing, and especially self-sufficient people that are just standing in the way of their globalist agenda. And it's driving a lot of these farmers even to something like suicide. So, really, there's only one term that we can use for the things that our government under Premier Mark Rutte is doing right now, and that is communism.
So messing with the food supply tends to cause food crises and then famines. You're seeing this in the developing world thanks to climate activism and the war in Ukraine. Are normal Dutch citizens who aren't farmers worried about what happens when you shut the farms down?
Absolutely, they understand it. No farmers, no food. And that's why the farmers have blocked these distribution centers, because within a matter of a couple of hours, we saw that the supermarkets were empty. And ordinary citizens understand this. The problem is that the state doesn't seem to understand this, or it's what they want. And the police have responded in an incredibly violent way. So as you guys have seen now, they have even shot at a 16-year-old boy. These are not things that you should see in free Western countries, especially not targeted towards peaceful protesters, but it's happening. And not just the Dutch people, everyone around the world, and especially you in America, should be supporting our Dutch farmers, because, well, this could be happening to you. It's actually the very reason why I'm wearing this handkerchief right now. It's become the symbol of these farmers' resistance, and they're doing it so courageously, and they have the manpower to do it, so they really deserve your full support.
We should be worried about the big things, and the food supply is the biggest thing. So we appreciate that explanation. Even Vlaardingerbroek, thanks so much for joining us. So, as we told you at the outset, and you already knew this, the Democratic Party was counting on the so-called Hispanic vote to stay in power forever, but no group has abandoned the Democratic Party faster or in larger numbers than Hispanic voters. Why? Well, the New York Times has a reason. It's because of, we're quoting, far-right Latinas. Far-right Latinas? We wanted to find one, and we did! We'll talk to her straight ahead.